All right, we back in here, right? Let's do this. So I have a few questions lined up. Um, you put in some questions. Let's go over them. Um, let's see what I can give to you, right? Right. Let's see what we got. So, um, how does the level of work you do contribute to your schedule? Okay. Well, this is what we're talking about. Different levels of work, right? Let's say what are some of the levels of work that we went over and we understood, right? Which is implementation, um, management, communication, and ideas, right? So because all of these work at a different level, what that means is, let's say you're implementing a specific thing, you're gonna need that whatever that is with you in order to do that. If you're managing, you probably just need a phone, or you need the individuals that you're managing to actually get that work done. If you're communicating, you probably need one way or another to communicate, right? You need some sort of communication device to actually communicate what you're communicating. Or if you're speaking in public or whatever the case is, you can also do it through there. Ideas. If you're centered around ideas and coming up with ideas, if that's the level of work that you're doing, then the way that we're going to have to go about that is, well, let's make sure that we have some form of way to capture those ideas, right? If we can capture those ideas, and all of a sudden, cool, we have an abundance of ideas, and you can start, sharing them and stuff like that, right? Those are some of those are the levels. Um, so how does the schedule vary? Well, I think there are layers to a schedule. Ultimately, there has to be a layer to schedules. Um, I think that there is, and I remember that we prefaced this a while back, which was like, the basics helps the process get the little things done, right? So what is the basics? The basics consist of um, praying, cooking, um, uh, exercise, rest, and sleep, right? Um, if those are the basics, that sets the first layer for any schedule. Cool. Then you have the second layer. The basics helps the process, right? So the process is, you come up with the process for the work that you do, right? So whatever that process is that you have, you put that process um, in between. You can put it in between, or you can. That's kind of the way that I do it. Really is that if that's the second layer where it's the basics helps the process get the little things done. If the process is the small things that um that consists of whatever work you do. Let's say you're a writer, um, a poet, a musician, whatever it is that you're doing. It's good to put little droplets of what you do in between those things, right? That's a great way to think about it, and it can add a lot more harmony into your schedule if you do it in that specific manner. Nonetheless, you can always do the show up at the specific spot, do the job, and then leave right after. That's super conventional and definitely works. Given if you have freedom to do things the way you want to do them, and let's say you have to implement a specific, you have to do some form of implementation where you need studio equipment or whatever. Uh, you know, you can have it with you. You can have the studio equipment with you, or uh, you show up at the spot when you have to. That's it, right? But they do vary to a degree, right? Especially when it comes to like ideas. If you have to take some ideas and jot them down, have a way to do that. Have a way to jot down those ideas, because jotting down ideas, if ideas is part of the work you do, is part of your schedule, right? So um, take those things into consideration. Really, that's really the biggest thing. Just take the level of what you're doing into consideration. Um, what actually goes into what you do, right? Next, um, How does yoga nidra impact your life? This is a big one, right? When you're resting, right? When you're asleep, or you're working on getting some sleep, uh, if you if you're like laying in bed, right? And let's say sometimes it's very difficult to relax your body. Um, you might have like a restless leg or whatever, right? Um, or you height, you got energy in your body. And that's fine. You know what that means? You have a beautifully working, like you have an amazing, like great health in your body. Really great. Uh, the only thing is that for me, the way we practice yoga nidra here is like, when we're practicing yoga nidra, it's like we're basically taking every breath, like, so it's you inhale and then you exhale. Eyes are, your eyes are off, whatever. You're basically either taking a nap or going straight to bed. Every exhale, I focus. You got to focus on like relaxing a part of your body, relaxing like your legs. Every exhale, relax your chest, relax your neck, relax your head. Um, and with no yoga nidra, you basically get to fall asleep way quicker. Like I know for a fact, sometimes if it takes you, I don't know, you set a little 30-minute timer to take a nap, and it takes you way longer. Yoga nidra is gonna help you really take the benefit of however long you actually have to get some rest. It's gonna help you get so much more rest so much quicker, and it's also gonna contribute to you uh, waking up fully rested. Let's say you gotta wake up at uh this specific time or like a specific hour, and you got to fall asleep at this specific time. It's going to help that process go so much quicker, right? So yoga nidra really, it's really beneficial and can absolutely help you tremendously towards like great rest and schedules, right? Because now it's really good. It's really, really good. Also it takes practice, so yeah. Oh, how does exteroceptivity impact your life? Okay. So, exteroceptivity is the it's like the opposite of interoceptivity, right? Exteroceptivity, in specific, when you do exteroceptive meditations, what this is basically going to help you out with is, and this is how you practice it, right? Let's say you're out in public or whatever, but you're primarily somebody who, you're kind of kept to yourself, right? You're kept to yourself, and you specifically like, you try to actively, you have your headphones on all the time. You actively spend the majority of the time blocking the world outside of you. Now, what's gonna happen is, something might occur, right? You might experience social anxiety when it's time for you to actually socialize with other people, right? The way that we can solve this is basically, let's say, okay, so um, the way we can solve this is, you can start doing exteroceptive meditations, right? So you do your exteroceptive meditations with like, I don't know, you can start with 5 minutes. Start slow, right? Set a little 5 minute timer, and you sit in public, right? Or you just sit down, and you just observe. You look around, right? Or you can look straight forward and breathe. Just regulate your breathing pattern. Social anxiety comes from, when you're out there and like, when you're paying attention to things outside, and let's say something happens, or like someone's watching, or someone is like saying something very loud, or whatever the case is, right? The external world, or like a train passes by, the external world can be very jarring sometimes, especially if you're not used to exposing yourself to it, right? Because you've been headphones on and you don't really want to pay attention to it. So, what you can do for exteroceptive meditations is, all right, well, let's just focus on observing it, right? Let's not like try to react, or it really is that observate. You're grabbing power back, right? There's this other practice called pranayama, which can also help you, if you think about anything that specifically triggers you, take a full breath in and a full breath out. And what that's going to do is going to calibrate the relationship that you have with it. A lot of times when we think about things or we see certain things and they trigger us, they either they impact the specific, like, it can impact your kind of like your breathing pattern, right? And so the way that you want to get a hold of that is by saying, well, that's going to happen and I'm going to actually practice just breathing normally, right? And how you how the breathing pattern that you have contributes to how you feel, right? How you breathe and how you feel are correlated, very, very much correlated. And so it's always good to, like, grab that power back, and don't pay attention to, like, like, don't it's basically how to not get triggered by these external things, right? And then pranayamas is how to not get triggered by the internal things. When you think back to a memory that triggered you, think about it, take a full breath, and then release that relationship, and good to go. Okay, that's exteroceptivity. A bit more context than you asked for, but I got you. So, next, how does bilateral stimulation impact you physically? This is a cool one. So lately, I've been getting into drumming, and also basketball, and dribbling with both arms, dribbling with tapping, or like moving around with both sides of my body. The biggest reason for this is our when you stimulate your physical body bilaterally, what you are doing is calibrating both sides of your brain. You're going to be calibrating both sides of your brain. And what is also going to help you with is making decisions. You'll be able to make better decisions. Ultimately, that's really what it is. And so let's say you're drumming with one you're practicing drumming with one hand. That's going to drum completely different than the other side of you. The complete other side, like the way, like, each side of you, the left and the right, expresses itself differently, right? And so when you go ahead and you're practicing, how does this side work, or how does this side work? What you're doing is you're allowing both sides, especially if you do like quick switch backs, like you left, right, right, left, right. What you're doing is you're allowing, and you can do this with dancing too. What you're doing is you're allowing your body to make better decisions and get used to making better decisions. Now, if you are primarily you use one side of your body a little bit more than the other side, this is going to be specifically beneficial for you, right? Because now all of a sudden, what you could do is say, all right, well, and this is another thing too. You're going to change how you do things throughout your day in general, right? This goes deep, man. This goes deep, but to a degree, what you can do is, like, let's say you're used to doing things all by yourself. That's a very, like, one-sided kind of thinking. What you might do now, because you're practicing with both sides, you might call somebody and get some help, right? Let's say this is all kinds of ways here now, right? Like, this is the logical versus the abstract side of you, and then it's not a versus. It's more or less like these things are going to work together a lot better, and you're going to make better decisions because you're going to have a much more if you're a one-sided kind of person, or um whatever the case is, you're going to be able to make better decisions because now you're developing that other side of yourself, that other part of the hemisphere. And that happens spiritually a lot for you, especially if, like, you're singing or you're practicing any art form that's musical. It's gonna have that relationship with you, and it's gonna pull you, and it's gonna work with you in that way. And now all of a sudden you become a much more complete, you become a little bit more complete in the way that you are, without added deficits, any making any decisions, right? And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. And um I actually want to end the podcast here, which is like, uh becoming a little bit more complete is never a bad thing. And that's always that's always something that you can practice. Practice doing a little bit more of different things. Do things differently. practice doing things in ways that you haven't done so before, it's good for you. It's good for you, and it helps you become a much more complete human being. If like, I don't know, go outside, talk to people, work with a random stranger on a random project. I don't know, make a random friend, or um, you know, uh, the same song that you've been listening to for a long time, play it twice the speed. Very different, weird things, but it helps. It helps. And as you begin to work with these two sides of yourself, you're gonna start to realize you're going to begin to realize like the possibilities of what you're actually capable of. And I know that you're capable of a lot, right? Like, truly, truly, truly. Thank you for watching. As always, link to the hoodies are down below. Get yourself one so when you wake up in the morning, you're not cold. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.